everyone, and welcome to another episode of Classic Gamer 74. I'm your host, Anthony Gamer, and I am Alligator. And in today's episode, we're going to discuss more prototypes for the Atari 5200, kids and learning games. I'm really surprised to see you here 2 weeks in a row. Yes, I just had to stay and find out about these children's and learning games. Because to be honest with you, I never knew they made any. Well, that's why they're prototypes. As many of you know that are fans of the 5200, the 5200's code name was Personal Arcade Machine, because most of the games that were on the 5200 were ports of arcade games. In the midst of the Atari mania, Atari made deals with big companies such as Disney, Warner Brothers, and the Children's Television Workshop. In a previous episode, I discussed many of the CCW games that were to be used on the 2600 with the kids' controller that was specially designed to play those games. Yes, and you could also use the keyboard controller or that controller that came with Star Raiders as well. That's true. There were also some Disney and Warner Brothers games that were to be released for the Atari 2600, but unfortunately were not released. Some of them weren't even completed. But some of them pretty much were, but then they weren't released. Exactly. Atari had made the deal with those companies and was planning on releasing some of these kids and learning games for the 5200. Really? Oh yeah. They also planned on making a special kids controller for the 5200 that kids could use to play some of these educational games that they had planned. And as you pointed out earlier, Al, because they wanted the 5200 to be an arcade machine, they decided to cancel all of these games for the 5200. Oh, really? Now, some of those games were released later on by CBS and were released for the Atari 8 computer, among other computer systems. So today we're going to check out the prototypes of these games that were not released, and I'm going to show you the games that were intended for the 5200 but were released on other game systems, including the Atari 8 computer. So, you ready to go? Oh yes, I sure am. Let's go for it. Okay then.
And our first game for today is Looney Tunes Hotel from 1983 from Atari. Now, at the time when this game was being made, Time Warner owned Atari. Now, so therefore, they had the rights to the Looney Tunes characters, so they didn't have to worry about, contracts or any of that stuff. So anyway, in this game, you take on the role of Bugs Bunny, and you are going around in this hotel and are trying to shut all the doors. Now, some of the villains from the various cartoons are trying to stop you. For instance, you have Elmer Fudd, you have Yosemite Sam, and the Tasmanian Devil. It sounds pretty easy, and for the first couple levels it is, but it gets pretty hard pretty quickly. Honestly, I think this game is a whole lot of fun, and it's really a shame that it wasn't released. So why do you think the game wasn't released? Well, honestly, again, it had to do with the fact that the video game market was not doing well. Also, a couple months after this game had been completed, Tramiel took over Atari, so that may have had something to do with it. But to be honest with you, I really enjoyed this game a lot. It's fun enough to be a kid's game, but yet challenging enough that grown people will enjoy it. So if you have the chance, grab the ROM and just cut up and have yourselves a lot of fun. And next, our one and only Disney game, Sport Goofy from 1983, from Atari, programmed by Leo Salinas. Now this game is actually based on those Sport Goofy cartoons that they made back in the day. Now you have two events to choose from. The first is the marathon dive. Now what you're doing is you're climbing this platform and avoiding tanks that shoot at you, and you jump off the platform, and then you try to catch Goofy with what looks like a mattress. And that's pretty much it. You keep going, the levels get harder, the tanks get faster, and that's about it. Actually, it's quite a fun event. One time I played it for like an hour and some straight, and I got so far that it actually wrapped around again. So, alright, and then the second event you have is called Pogo Pop. What you're trying to do is light up all the lights with Goofy jumping on this pogo stick. Sounds easy, huh? Well, after a tile has been lit up, sometimes it likes to disappear. So you really got to be on your toes and watch where you're going. Also, you can pop those Mickey Mouse balloons that are above your head for extra points. So, now, my honest opinion about this game, like I said, I love it. It's a lot of fun. I've had hours of fun playing it. The only complaint I have is, why were there only 2 events? Why couldn't have they added more? Well, maybe if the game had been completed, they might have. Well, not necessarily, because it was released for the Atari 8 computer, and I believe other game systems, and it only had the 2 events. So, like I said, that's my only complaint. They should have added more events, but, you know, as it is, like I said, the game is really a whole lot of fun, and fun for all ages.
And now for today's trivia question. What is the name of the planned CCW game that would not be released on the 2600, 5200, or anywhere else, as the game itself was completely canceled? You think you know the answer? Wait till the end and see if you're correct.
And next is Roadrunner from 1983 from Atari, programmed by Lori Schaefer. Alright, now this game is a strategy puzzle game where you have sliding tiles. Quite similar to Locomotion, which was a game that was released for the Intellivision. Actually, according to rumor, I heard that this was actually a reimagined version of Locomotion, as they were actually going to release that game for the Atari 2600, but they didn't. So there's some rumors going around this may actually be using the same engine, but who knows? Right. Okay, now in this one, you take on the role of Wile E. Coyote, which threw me for a loop because you usually play the protagonist in a game, not the antagonist. So what you're doing here is you're trying to get birdseed before the Roadrunner does and keep from falling off a slide or from crashing into a false tunnel. The game is pretty fun, and if you're into strategy games, you'll probably really enjoy it. Unfortunately, this version is pretty much complete, but it does not have any sound or music. This is a game I would really like to see, somebody finish someday, so you can actually hear some of the sounds that would be in it, because I bet you there's some pretty cool sounds that they got going on for this game. Also, there was rumors that there was actually going to be 2 players on this game, so one could be the Roadrunner and one could be Coyote, so who knows? And next up we have Astro Grover from 1983 from Atari. Now, some people think that this game, with a title like that it might be about astronomy, but no, it's actually counting and number games. Now, you have 5 mini games in this one, and the games themselves are geared towards children between the ages of 5 and 8. Right you are. Now, the first mini game is called How Many Zips. In this one, you are counting zips, and every time that you get the exact number right, you build part of a city. Now, like all these games, this does actually have an infinite number of tries. So if the child messes up, they get several chances to do it. And this, again, was going to be using the kids controller, but since the kids controller was not released, and the 5200 controller has buttons on it, a number pad, you can use that to play this game. One other thing that all these mini games have in common is, well, most of them I think, is that when you complete all of the activities, you get a cute little animated sequence with Grover. And the other mini games are as follows. You have Beam That Number, where you're moving the spotlight to the exact number of zips to match what is displayed on Grover's ship. You have Adding Countdown, correct count and add all the zips. Now next you have Take It Away Zips, which you are doing subtraction. And the final mini game is Sum Up, Sum Down. We count and select correct number of combination of numbers. Although the game is actually complete as far as I can see, I really can't see anything else that they might have been able to do with this. The game was not released. However, it was released later on the Atari 8 computer. Now, the last two games were supposed to be released on the 5200 as well. However, they were actually released to computer systems instead of being released on the 5200. Now, all of these games would have this special overlay that you would put on the computer before you let the child play. Now, why would you do that, Fo? You know, I find that real funny, Al, because you have more kids than anybody I know, and you're asking me why you would put an overlay on your computer. Oh, yeah, you got a point there. I mean, you're going to get peanut butter and jelly all over the computer. So that makes sense. And the first of these is Let Her Go Round from 1983. When it was going to be on the 5200, they called it Muppet Go Round. So let's check it out. Now, this game is strictly about letters and reading. Now, some of the mini games on this one that you have are uppercase matching, lowercase matching, mixed case matching, one little word, what's missing, and spell the secret word. It's a pretty easy game to figure out. You simply choose the Muppet that you want to, I guess, represent you, and you try to complete these events using the Ferris wheel. Pretty easy game. Now, it can get a little challenging when you get into one little word, what's missing, and spell the secret word, as it really depends on the child's educational level. Now, there is a ROM of this game for the 5200, and much like the Roadrunner game, it has no sound and no music. However, like I said, the game is fully complete for the Atari 8 and I believe for the Commodore 64. So if you get a chance to check this game out with your kids, they will enjoy it, and you will enjoy playing the game with them. And our final game for today is Big Bird's Hide and Seek. However, when it was released for the Atari 8 computer by CBS Software, they retitled it Big Bird's Funhouse. Now, like the other games, it has 5 mini-games, but we're going to focus on the first one called Who's Hiding. Now, in this one, it helps your child to develop short-term memory skills and memorization, as you're trying to search through this house and try to remember where each of the characters are hiding. So you get a chance to see them, and then there's some pretty cute animation, and then you have to try to remember which character was hiding in which location. A relatively easy game, but quite a bit of fun too, and the animation that they put into this is pretty top-notch for its time.
And the answer to today's trivia question: what is the name of the CCW game that was planned for the Atari 2600, then the 5200, but was never released for those systems or any other game system? And the answer is...
the game was called Count with the Count, and it was going to be another math-related game starring everyone's favorite vampire, the Count. However, I don't believe the game actually got past the planning stages, and it was duly scrapped. Years later, a whole new game called Countdown would actually be released for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Well, that brings us to the end of another exciting episode of Classic Gamer 74. I really hope you enjoyed it. Well, hold on a second. Sure, what's up? You ever notice that when it comes to learning about video game history and you think you know everything, you always discover something new? Oh, that's true. Good point. Well, if you did enjoy today's episode, you know what to do. Give us a great big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to click that little bell icon down there so you'll be notified when we upload new episodes.
In our next episode, we're going to do something we haven't done in a while. That is an instant classic. An instant classic is a game that, upon its release within the last few years, went immediately into legendary status. And what better game to show that than Five Nights at Freddy's? So you will not want to miss the next episode.
Well, until next time, this is Anthony Gamer, and I am Alligator, reminding all of you to stay strong, stay healthy, and stay home. See you soon. Bye. Goodbye, everyone.